I would like each of you to consider, how would your sense of self be impacted if you lost the ability to move your body? Reflect on that for a moment. It can happen to any of us at almost any time. A car accident, a fall downstairs, just a trip and an awkward landing. Your neck is broken, your spinal cord is damaged, and you've lost the ability to consciously control the muscles in your body. Think of who you are. Think of the roles that you play in life. Think of the passions that drive you. As a psychologist working in a post-hospital rehabilitation facility for individuals who've had spinal cord injuries, I've seen the process that people go through in adapting and adjusting after this type of injury. Should you completely damage your cervical spinal cord injury, you will lose motor and sensory function in the lower half of your body, and depending on the level of injury, you may have minimal to no functioning in your hands and arms. Now you're shown this range of technological innovations that exist that can allow you greater independence in mobility, in environmental control, but these things can't turn back the clock. And you still have to adapt to the changes that can't be fixed. These are the realities that individuals who've sustained these types of injuries experience. And people react very differently to this situation. Everything from completely shutting down and withdrawing to fully engaging in all of the changes that are necessary to live a meaningful and purposeful life. What is it inside you that makes one of those choices more likely than the other? With the same situation, the same physical effects of injury, what is it that differentiates a person who completely gives up from someone who digs in and fights that much harder? This is an extreme illustration of the fact that we don't just react to situations. We react to a combination of a situation, the world around us, and our own internal thought processes. We add our own unique spin to that information, and then we make predictions about the future, and then we react as if that is a done deal. This is an automatic process. It's largely subconscious in nature, and it's built on our life experiences and our unique learning history. That process allows us to then make predictions about the future. But when you add to that our tendency to look for danger signals, to have a negative interpretation, then we react to that imagined or predicted future as if it is our here and now reality. To me, this is the more important part because how an individual responds in any given situation is dependent in part on the situation, but even more so on the internal reactions and expectations that that person demonstrates. In situations like I've described, your ability to demonstrate resilience, your ability to bounce back, or to react to change in a positive way, it's something that we call post-traumatic growth. It's your ability to endure a catastrophic situation but maintain your sense of self. And as I've seen in working with individuals going through this process, whether or not a person even interprets their situation as catastrophic is more dependent upon the person than upon the situation. And some people, in going through a significant life-changing injury, they emerge from that with a greater sense of self. They demonstrate that post-traumatic growth, that improved and stronger sense of self and confidence. Let's face it, we are all going to face obstacles, some minor, some major. If everything in your life is going really, really well, a minor inconvenience like a flat tire or spilling a cup of coffee can be a horrible, terrible tragedy. Now, when you compare that to what I think most of us would say is truly a catastrophic situation, loss of motor function as a result of a permanent injury, and I'm not making light of what people experience in going through this process. I'm simply saying that how you react in a given situation depends much more on what you have in here than what's going on in the world around you. Now, that being the case, how can we start to change what's in here to let us be better able to deal with adversity in the situations that we will encounter? Well, the first thing is simply to be aware of the fact that you've got these filters through which you automatically process information. So evaluate yourself. What is your tendency to react to information as a positive or a negative? How do you determine whether something is good or bad? And then what leaps of logic do you put on top of that information? What predictions about your future do you make and then react to as if that reality is your here and now existence? I've got a news flash for everybody. You are not your thoughts. As a concept, that's both disturbing but also liberating. It's disturbing because if you are not your thoughts, then who are you? Where does your sense of you reside? It is liberating, though, in that it allows you to independently be aware of your thoughts. You and your sense of self are such that you can be aware of the fact that you are having a thought when that thought occurs. That gives you the ability in that moment to decide how you want to react to that thought. You don't control the fact that that thought occurs. You only get to control how you react to it. That gives you an amazing amount of power because it allows you to disengage from things that are not happening here and now. It allows you to consciously decide whether a given thought makes your day better or worse and whether you want to join with that thought or not. You can also influence the filters through which you process information. You can actually teach yourself to be more aware of and recognize the positives when they occur. Celebrating things, little and big, that make us feel better about ourselves or make us feel more accomplished. Through the process we call neuroplasticity, your brain gets better at what you practice. The more you do something, the more automatic that becomes. There's actually a physiological change within the brain where pathways are developed and strengthened as you practice. So how do you practice something like being positive or even looking for the positive? Well, one way is set aside a little bit of time, a minute. I'll take 30 seconds if you'll give it to me, every night before you go to bed, and just reflect on your day. Think about things that happened today that you enjoyed, that made you happy. Maybe not even things that were fun, but that gave you a sense of accomplishment. Look into your future. Look at tomorrow. Look at the next week. Look at things that you're looking forward to, things that you're anticipating with a sense of pleasure. As you practice that skill of looking for the positive, you are actually physiologically developing and strengthening pathways that make that a more automatic process. You become more easily able to see and recognize the positives that do exist. You're practicing a habit of being positive. It is amazing that we live in such a dynamic and ever-changing world, and yet somehow we seem to think that we're always going to be the same. The person that we are now is who we're always going to be. You've changed throughout your entire life, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, and sometimes in response to experiences that can't be taken back and that you can't fix. And in those cases, you have to adapt. How you interpret a given change has a lot to do with how long that adaptation is going to take. And just as you have changed throughout your life, you will continue to change. But you get to consciously decide and choose whether change is to be avoided and feared or accepted and even embraced. Remember that you wouldn't be the person that you are right now if you hadn't experienced the unique changes and challenges that you've had throughout your life. I'm going to leave you with a final example of post-traumatic growth and looking for the positives in a situation. Rachel Johnson is a young woman who sustained a spinal cord injury as a result of a car accident. And although she will be the first to tell you that she experienced her own emotional struggles through this process, she recently stated in an interview, and I'm going to read this from a card because I want to make sure I get her words right. If I could walk again or use my hands again, that would be the best gift in the world. But if I could go back to that day and change what happened, I absolutely would not. I never would. And that's because I've gained so much from it. I lost so much physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually even, I have gained more than even I can put into words. And the experiences that I've had now and the beautiful people that have come into my life and the opportunities that have been created because of what happened, that's something I wouldn't change for the world. Rachel graduated from college within the last year, and this amazing young woman works with us at QLI as a mentor for individuals going through their own adaptation and change after spinal cord injury. Her ability to decide how to adapt and interpret her life experiences, it's a living example of the choice that we all have in response to the experiences that we will have. You do not control the world. Most of us can admit that occasionally, right? But the truth is, you don't really even control your own thoughts. You do get to control and decide how you react to those thoughts when they occur. And that can make a world of difference in how you react to the changes, minor or catastrophic, that you will experience. Rachel, thank you for allowing me to use your story. And to everyone, thank you.